There being no procedure in the rules for dealing with such matters, I'll put the question for its adoption. Will those in favor say to the contrary? No. The ayes have it. We are entirely committed on our own behalf and on behalf of those who are not in the House at the moment. We did this on their behalf. Secondly, honorable members, I received a letter this morning signed by the Honorable Bintu Jaldia in her capacity as chairperson of the board of the Uganda Parliamentary Cooperative Savings and Credit Society Limited. We passed a law here recently, and looks like there has been some omission on what we passed, and the copy that was transmitted, the sent copy that was transmitted to the President for his signature, seemed that like some parts were left out somehow, inadvertently, they were not contained. So when we look at the Hansard of what we passed and the sent copy that was sent to the President, there's some variance. Some critical aspects were not contained in the sent copy. I'm communicating this to you so that you know, because this affects all of us, and it also affects so many other people who are operating circles in the country, and also to let everybody know that we'll handle this through our mechanisms of making corrections where errors were made, so that all is well with the law as passed with the recommendation from the people of this country. That will be happening in due course, and I'll be notifying you accordingly. Honorable members, the Minister of State for Finance has some issue which is urgent, and he has some documents to lay. So before I deal with the urgent matters that have been raised, that have been requested from Rwemiyaga, Nwaya District, Manjia, and Arua District, I will first allow the Honorable Minister to deal with the item 5, then we can come back to urgent matters that is going to be raised by our colleagues. Excuse me?
Laying of papers.
Can I deal with the laying of papers? We are coming back to urgent matters. Okay. Okay, can I, because I need to release the Honorable Minister, let me do what he's going to do, then I can allow you to make comments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to do that, and I congratulate you upon the work. I beg to lay, Mr. Speaker, a proposal to borrow up to euro 300 million from Stanbic Bank and 300 million US dollars from trade, no, I beg your pardon. Yes, and 300 million euro from Trade Development Bank to finance the budget deficit for the financial year 2019-2020. Second, Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay a proposal from government to borrow up to euro 162,445,494.1 euros, or an equivalent to US dollars 178,276,661.7 from Industrial and Commercial Bank of China to finance the development of industrial parks. That is to power supply to industrial parks and power transmission. I beg to lay.
Let the records capture that. They then refer to our Committee on National Economy to handle and advise us what to do with it. Thank you. Honorable members, let me just conclude my communication, then I allow. The Parliament of Uganda will be hosting the 10th edition of the East African Community Games in Kampala, starting from this Sunday, 8th December, until 18th December 2019. Those are 10 days. The games, which shall include football, netball, volleyball, basketball, tug of war, athletics, and darts, will be held at selected venues including St. Mary's Stadium in Kitende, Lugogo Indoor Stadium in Lugogo, and here at Parliament of Uganda. The opening ceremony on Sunday will involve a pre-tournament conference which shall be held here at Parliament, followed by a march from Parliament towards St. Mary's Stadium. You are invited for the opening ceremony here at Parliament and in Kitende and thereafter to different venues to support our boys and girls on the field. The fixtures will be communicated to you as it will be done on a daily basis. So please organize from Sunday to be part of this. Even when you are not playing, you can play number 17. Number 17 means you encourage the team, you are part of the fun, you are part of the people who make the game exciting. So come support our parliamentary team, which has been champions all these years. We have never lost, they have always lost. So we hope to win again. And so come and support our teams. Thank you. Yes, Lemiaga?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for the communication and for the undertaking on behalf of Parliament today, the 4th of December 2019. Right Honorable Speaker, it was a serious commitment. And as I was seated listening to you, I thought that probably opportunity would have been availed to this House so that we debate as Parliament where we have started from, where we are and where we are going in the fight against corruption. Marching by itself per se will not go far enough to stamp out the evil of corruption. The struggle starts with us. And I thought it would be an opportunity for government to avail the strategies they intend to pursue in the vigorous fight against corruption. It would entail the full House, because such a wonderful communication is delivered on almost an empty House. You can see there is no front bench. One would easily interpret it to mean as a protest against your communication. They don't want to be associated with your communication, because the three arms would have been here, save for the judiciary who are not represented here. But when Mzee Philemon is dragged from the extreme end to stand in and field questions, I think we are taking your communication lightly. Yet, as I was reading in the papers, 3.3 trillion shillings is lost in corrupt tendencies in this country. When court ordered for the refund, out of the 77 billion, it has only been 1 billion so far recovered. So we really need to come forward so that we can put into effect, we can crystallize the undertaking, Right Honourable Speaker, you've made on behalf of Parliament. We as Parliament, we are ready. But also as we are pointing fingers for members who have no business outside the country, but cannot be available to transact the business before us. We also need to look at ourselves so that this glaring missing out in this House is fault. It has to start with us. Let us discharge our duties without fear or favor. Let us legislate when we are supposed to legislate. And I would think, and I pray, Right Honourable Speaker, that at an appropriate time, you allow, you permit, a day is known in time for government, whether through the Minister of Ethics and Integrity, but mostly through the lead of government business, to come out and lay strategies so that we debate, we have inputs, so that the demonstration we have had today is accompanied by a real statement and a resolution from this Parliament, and we set out the cascading effect to the rest of the country. I pray that we don't leave your communication fall by the wayside. We pursue it and we put into effect its input in this country. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Kanungu, Bulisa, Msongora, then I come to the leader of opposition. Briefly, please.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I want to thank you so much for representing us well in the work and for making a serious commitment, which I believe we are all for here. Mr. Speaker, I've raised this issue quite many times about one of the ways we can maybe use to curb this corruption in the country. I've been raising it here that, Mr. Speaker, if we could maybe do a study and look at the public service sector as a whole and see if we can also, like some countries do, have our civil servants on contract, and maybe after 10 years we approve them. But I've been saying it and it has not, I don't see anything coming out of it. Mr. Speaker, we appreciate the work, but like the colleague has said, I don't think we shall yield much from the work unless if we sit down here and analyze the issue and get a serious way forward. Mr. Speaker, if that issue is looked into and somebody gets to know that they are on contract, they have to be serious, because I'm surprised even in small offices in our districts. You find somebody is from the village carrying a child, they look at the person, is not looking money, but they even want some little money. So it has eaten the nation up to the grassroots. Everywhere you go, all our civil servants up to the last level. It's terrible, Mr. Speaker. So I want to thank you for today, and I pray that we sit down as a house and look at it deeply and get a way forward. I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, we are proud of you, right from the work and the commitment which was made in Kololo. But of course, even today at 2, a few minutes before 2, as I was trying to go to your chambers to book some matter of national importance in Ulisa, I was told you are late. The Speaker is already heading to the House, and I want to commend you for that. Can I request through you your indulgence that the Minister of Ethics and Integrity, or if possible the Prime Minister, presents the commitment of government today which was made in Kololo and the Minister's statement in a document which can be debated at Parliament. Because good efforts are said to have been done, and it is us who would be the best people to discuss and see how best. Much as I didn't hear so much the role of the CID, I didn't hear so much ourselves what we do as the PAC, the COSASE, the local government public accounts. I didn't see that coming out from the other authorities, and I think when it comes here we can discuss, because even the budget is one area where you could actually trace corruption being in the budget. I come from a procurement and supply chain background where somebody says, when the budget is passed, I will pay the remaining part of this property. And for me, that confirms by the time we pass a budget, people have already put their cut. And therefore, I would like us to look at the procurement, which I think has 30% of our corruption. We also have areas of taxation, more so transfer pricing as we go for oil and these other things. And I think that would be very important if we look into those areas. The final and the most important, I always sympathize. Our police officers, our army officers, our nurses, our teachers, who take their children to the schools we take our children, who only earn about 400,000. As a government, as a parliament, how do we expect them to meet their means? I think there is a nexus between failure of government to provide public goods. There is a nexus between privatization and corruption. Because my father, who had a government house until retirement, he only required a house in Ulisa for retirement. But the moment you make a police, a nurse, a teacher fend for himself, when you are not paying him, we are also guilty. And I agree with your statement. Let the one who has not committed throw the first stone. I want to own that statement, and I think government must revisit the public goods. If they don't know where to treat their children, where to take their children to school, and they don't know even where to stay while working, doing a government job, that has a very big nexus to corruption, and I think we need to discuss that seriously. I thank you so much.
Musongora.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I am particularly concerned about the missing link between what this Parliament pronounces itself on when we are processing bills, Mr. Speaker, and what actually is sent to the President to ascend to the law. Mr. Speaker, in that Cooperatives Law Now Act.
No, that one,
Yes.
already, my communication was to the effect
Yes.
that will do corrective measures on this.
Yes,
Can
but-
we leave that one for
But
now?
Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to highlight particularly the constitutional amendment that we had of the age limit. Mr. Speaker, we also considered the issue of term limits. And when they were sending the bill to the President to sign, actually they omitted that. So I just wanted to seek your indulgence, Mr. Speaker, on how this Parliament can ensure that actually what it passes is what is sent to the President to sign on, so that we don't pass issues here and then you find what actually the President assents to is a different law. So, Mr. Speaker, I think this Parliament must look at that and scrutinize it and see that what we pass here is what actually is sent to the President for the President to sign on.
You see, under the Acts of Parliaments Act, the provisions are clear, the procedures are known of what happens to a law when it's passed by Parliament. The technical people in Parliament are supposed to extract whatever decision was taken by Parliament and prepare an assent copy based on what Parliament has passed. Of course, you already have a gazetted bill, but then you have alterations that have been in the course of the work of Parliament. So you make the adjustments accordingly, and that's how you prepare the assent copy, which ends up going to the President. Sometimes there are errors, and those errors are inadvertent. They're never intended. And I want to speak for our technical people here, and also being somebody who has that background, that there can be a challenge sometimes. There are times like that there are some bills that have really pressure on time. So sometimes you go through the Hansard, some decisions were taken much earlier than others, and then you try to synchronize them. Sometimes you miss them out. I don't think it is intended. But where they occur, we have to take corrective measures so that we are okay. Yes, the leader of opposition, and there are very limited cases. Very, very limited. Most of the time they actually do a very, very good job.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And I want to congratulate all who worked today. I also would like to say, one Uganda, one nation. It hurts so much to find that some other people heap money like this when some other people are dying. And poverty is almost at its highest. Civic education is not there. For all those who work, it will be a shame to go back, to backslide. We are waiting to see if we have worked to do the right thing for Uganda and to love Uganda. Not to just say patriotism, then it is a lip service. Then we wait to see if we improve services to our people. When we talk about 3 trillion, 4 trillion lost, those are the monies that we can quantify. How about us here? Can we quantify the amount of maybe losses that we have here in Parliament when we don't do our rightful work here, or when we keep ourselves out of the work that people send us to do? Very many times we forget that we are servants of the people. And for us as members of Parliament, we are supposed to also keep the ministers on their toes. We are supposed to oversee them. How many times have we been here in this house without ministers? Today they all walked. Where are they now? They walked.
Please, the president.
I just would like to say, corruption was even in the distribution of the t-shirts. In some ministries, yes, it reached us, where you divide to some, you see their eyes, and to some, you see their eyes, and you don't give them. That is corruption. When our courts stay in the offices, and we are not there, that is corruption. We are not there to do the public work for the people. So today we have started the work. We are all put to task to leave it and to love Uganda. And you cannot love Uganda because I am here with my colleagues. We are at that level and we don't mind about those other ones there. The 80% who are lingering in abject poverty, who do not get anything in the hospitals. When they go for services in the hospitals, they don't get services. When we don't do better for our people, let us be number one in being exemplary. That is why I say I congratulate all. I say congratulations, and let us leave it. Let us say, for us, SFDC, we say one Uganda, one people. The one who is suffering there, who is dying. If today you are not dying because of lack of something in the hospital, even I think a member of parliament of this house in the 7th parliament died because of problem in the hospital. That was in Mbarara. A member of parliament from Bushenyi died. So it is until when it reaches you that you feel the pain. Let us not wait until when it reaches us or when it reaches me. We should act now, and we should be exemplary. We should not be too ambitious to accumulate thousands and millions of money. Please.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker and Leader of Opposition. The gesture is good. The whole country is united. The cause is noble. And the results is what we want to see. But even in due course of the action, Right Honorable Speaker, there were a lot of inconveniences. Roads were closed without giving sufficient information to the people. Others were blocked from walking when their call was for all Ugandans. We've all witnessed the brutality that has been manifested on former presidential candidate Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye, as he also had announced to join the work for the cause. His premises, his home was blocked off and cordoned off in the morning. He sneaked out and found his way, all in the name of working against corruption. Now, we want to know who was corrupted to stop Dr. Besigye from working. Instead of the police going to take him his t-shirt, his cape, and with his entourage, they only served him with none other than brutality. His car was towed, his people around him were beaten, and if that is the corruption we are talking about that we want to weed out of this nation in a bipartisan manner, it doesn't serve that way. There is no one...
Did you write on information?
Information, sir. So the point of information I wanted to...
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you for the informations. You know, we must love each other. We must love our country. We must love the vulnerables. We are here for the vulnerables. If it was for the able and already the rich, some of us would not be here. We are here to serve the vulnerables. But sometimes we don't care about them at all. It is starting today. We want to see. If I see money going from down, not on the table, that is corruption. If if we don't put ministers to task, although also my shadow ministers have also been to have to be here, but for them they are not put to task. All of us put those ministers to task. They have to be on their toes because they are the ones who are in the kitchen cooking for us and for us to come and appropriate from here. So if the ministers are not there, Honorable Minister, Government Chief Whip, we will not fail to put you to task because you are also a minister. You are the ones cooking.
Are you about to wind up?
Yes, I am about to wind up.
Please
Let me wind up by saying, one Uganda, one nation, one people. Let us love the vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think let's leave it here. That was arising from my communication. It was not a substantive matter on the order paper. Can we, Government Chief Whip? You have, okay.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, and welcome you back. And I want to welcome colleagues whom I saw at both the Constitutional Square and at Kololo. Right Honorable Speaker, when I saw the Chief Justice, my Lord, the Chief Justice, Bart Katrere, standing up and taking an undertaking on behalf of the judiciary, I developed goose pimples. He stood up to speak on behalf of the judiciary, and I knew your turn was coming. And as usual, you stood up after those remarks, and I mobilized the members who were with us, all the members of Parliament, to stand up and show solidarity to you, because you were speaking on behalf of all of us. And yet the key thing was that fighting corruption begins with me. And you cannot know whether I am serious or not. It is an individual's undertaking. But this is the time when you stood up to recommit Parliament, to recommit all of us. I just want to call upon my colleagues that yes, we have received these declarations, recommitment, but it is you and me. You may point fingers like the Right Honorable Leader of Opposition was saying, pointing fingers to me and the rest. But God is pointing his finger unto you. All of us are supposed to be accountable. There is a lot to be done here in Parliament, in committees. Members who appear before committees go out there and speak how you treat them, what you do, even beyond how you handle reports. They say, they speak. So it is all of us. We need to pray that God guides us so that we change our behavior. You rightly put it at Kololo, and I want to thank you so much. I recommit myself to fight corruption. I've not been corrupt, and I will not be corrupt.
Like you are both.
Thank you, thank you.
Like in jail.
Rwemiyaga, I'm going to urgent matters now. Rwemiyaga. Briefly.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I shared this matter yesterday with the Government Chief Whip, and it is concerning the arbitrary closure of Rwemiyaga Cattle Market and Rumegere Cattle Market, as well as in Rwebitakuri Cattle Market. Right Honourable Speaker, the guidelines are clear governing quarantine. Once there is an outbreak of a pocket, it is the radius of 20 kilometers around the spot that is subject to the quarantine. But in the case of Rwemiyaga, there was a reported outbreak in Mitima, which is something like 40 kilometers from the scene to Rwemiyaga, Rumegere, Rwebitakuri. And further surprising is that the markets around us are operating and they are open. For instance, Chemamba is in Kabula, which is a distance of 5 kilometers, is operating normally. And other markets, for instance, the Chemamba, Kashagama is near in proximity. We also border, Right Honorable Speaker, Kazo District. Rwemiyaga borders Kazo District. But the market of Burunga, which is 12 miles from Rwemiyaga, Rwemikoma, Kazo, all those are operating. We also border Chiruhura District, where Chinoni Market, Nyakashashara, they are also operating. We border Chegegwa, Rensas Market is operating.
The urgent matter, Honorable. I
Yes,
think the background is
Speaker,
clear.
the point I'm trying to raise is that even in the neighborhoods, in Chahi, Madu, and Gomba, they are all operating. And apparently, it is only Rwemiyaga that is being arbitrarily targeted. And I can state the reason is to make way for these other markets. For instance, the market of Chemamba, where the one who runs the market in Nsima is a close associate with the minister for security. That's why the market, in fact, they are driving animals from Rwemiyaga to Chemamba. And Right Honorable Speaker, this arbitrariness is going to an extreme level. In September, the district veterinary officer issued travel permits, movement permits for animals. He was arrested and dumped at Kireka here. On 2 occasions in 1 month, it was the intervention of the Uganda Veterinary Medical Association that he was released. And this is being done in an arbitrary manner. So can government tell the people of Rwemiyaga what is the purpose of the arbitrary quarantine of Rwemiyaga and Rumegere? As I speak now, the minister has dispatched a pickup truck of soldiers. They've cited it in Rwemiyaga, the Honorable Tumwine. Today, it has been dispatched. The people are saying there is any outbreak of foot and mouth disease. They want to continue with their lives. They want to carry on their activities. And the reason is clear. Each market day, there is an inflow of over 600 million from cattle traders from Kampala to the local markets of Rumegere and Rwemiyaga.
Honorable, please.
Right Honorable Speaker, I petition this House, I petition government to rein in on the minister and to clarify why are the markets being kept without operating, and to recommit that the people, if there is any outbreak, let them be known, but the people are ready to carry on with their business in spite of the threats, in spite of the blockade that is arbitrary without any justification. Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Government Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. It's true, I interacted with Honorable Sechikubo yesterday because I realized that he was uncomfortable. I reached out to him myself to ask what the matter was. And as he has explained, we have to find out reasons why the area he has mentioned is discriminated. Because when you consult the Act, the radius from the affected area is outlined there. So I promised him that I was going to speak to the Commissioner Animal Health and Honorable Minister of State for Animal Husbandry, Joy Kabasi, and Honorable Eli Tumwine. I have so far talked to one person. This is the Commissioner, Animal Health. And I will approach the 2 ministers. And I think if we are to follow the guidelines, the ban must be lifted, which was put. And this is a period where really people need money. We need money for the festive season, but also we need money for school fees because January is just around the clock. So it's an urgent matter which I am following up quickly.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Noya?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise on a matter of national importance. I beg you allow me to raise these two issues. But before that, Right Honorable Speaker, last evening we had an unprecedented occurrence at the Nile, where for the first time the Nile along near Pakwach burst its banks and cut off West Nile from the rest of Uganda. Mr. Speaker, my interaction with some few people around the place found out that that has been because of the construction of Bulisa to Pakwach, or around that confluence road, Tangi Gate, from Bulisa to Tangi. It happened that I think they did not do enough environmental impact assessment. So the contractors, instead of putting culverts or a proper bridge on Tangi River, they decided to compact the place. So when they compacted, it narrowed the channel of River Tangi that used to absorb the overflow of the Nile. That is why when now the Nile overflowed and cut the road. So my prayer to the Ministry of Works to reconsider and they go and do fresh assessment on that very particular place. If not, the problem will continue. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, the matter of national importance I want to raise also on tobacco farmers. Last year, we had a tobacco company called Alliance One, something like that, went to Noya district and, like any other parts of Acholi sub-region, contracted farmers to grow tobacco. But now when it came to the time, and we know tobacco do not have many buyers like other crops. So when they came to buy, they only bought few and left half of it. Normally they contract them and give them some credit. So they literally only bought to pay up their credits and a few. Now farmers are stuck with tobacco in their stores. They are continuing to meet expenses to pay for this, for the storage. And yet this time it is a festive season. Farmers have wasted their efforts. So how can the Ministry of Agriculture help us to intervene in this matter so that we can have means of trade intervene in this matter so that the company can buy? Farmers cannot sell it anywhere because they were contracted. And lastly, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable, now you have 3 issues.
I beg.
No, please. No,
Please.
please. Let's use the time properly. You have raised 2. We had agreed on 1. Honorable Minister.
The bridge was nothing. That one,
Right Honorable Speaker. Yes, at one time I interfaced with my colleague and she raised this issue. We are inviting the companies that are actually purchasing tobacco across the country and see how best they can actually add on the extra.
He hasn't said anything. Please, first say something, then you can seek clarification.
So the issue my colleague from Noya has raised, I think we'll be able to actually bring a comprehensive report next week, Right Honorable Speaker.
So now the issue is that he's going to bring a comprehensive report next week. Now you are seeking clarification on that? Yes or no? Honorable Ashid.
Thank you. Right Honorable Speaker, the problem of tobacco farmers is not only a problem for Acholi sub-region. And Right Honorable Speaker, I've been engaging the Honorable Minister of State for Trade outside the floor of Parliament. He had promised that by November, the tobacco farmers will be receiving their money. So when he starts talking about a comprehensive report, November this year, November 2019, we are now in December. That's exactly why when he made a statement that he was going to bring a statement, I immediately stood on point of clarification. So can he clarify why up to now the farmers have not received their money and we're in December? Thank you.
Thank you. So the clarification was on matters that was raised outside this house. Honorable Minister, please. What did you say there and now you are changing your statement?
Yes, it's true. We interacted with my colleague, and indeed, I did indicate to him that I would actually come here and make a comprehensive statement. Of course, November has just ended, and Right Honorable Speaker, as I said, next week we'll come with a statement. It will include all the issues that he raised.
But Honorable Minister, really, what will the statement do to the farmers? Why don't you just make the meetings, arrange for payments? We can do without your statement on this tobacco. Once the farmers are paid, we don't need a statement. We actually don't need a statement from you. All we need is that the farmers are paid. Full stop. You can have your peace.
Additional information from a good friend. The president for the Bunyoro region, during the past, I can't remember the date, but let me say the past by-election, actually promised payment. And we have a problem as leaders in the region. The minister who was tasked to follow up now cannot meet those people and tell them that money is coming on this date. So the speaker is right. It's not about the statement, can we get the payment? Aware that tobacco beds are supposed again to be made this month, next month. So are we killing the tobacco production in this country? We better pay so that we know there is a future of tobacco or not.
I think that's the way forward, Honorable Minister. A statement is not necessary. Just find the money from wherever. In fact, the money is not from you. The money is from the company. Yes. Just coordinate them. They pay the farmers. We have peace with everybody. Thank you.
Information, Mr. Right Honorable Speaker.
Who are you informing, Honorable? We have finished this matter. You are informing.
Right Honorable Speaker, I just wanted to contribute on the tobacco.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Since I joined Parliament, the issue of tobacco has been coming on this floor. Can I appeal to government here to sit down and sort this issue out? We cannot year in, year out talk about the same thing. The ministers are responsible, the executive, in fact, ministers and the civil servants. This thing should be sorted out once and for all. People are suffering. First of all, it's one of the least lucrative thing they can produce. And people are suffering. So I appeal to government, make sure that they sit down and don't bring here reports of piecemeal. Let us have a report whether you establish STABEX funds so that our farmers can be paid in time.
Honorable Minister, let those companies pay our farmers. They have an obligation. They signed a contract. This was contract farming. So they should pay. Just enforce that. And okay. Thank you. Manjia?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The matter I'm raising is a matter of urgent public importance. And it is in respect of the many lives that have perished in multiple landslides in my constituency. Right Honorable Speaker, yesterday while we were here in the plenary, courtesy of social media, I received the bad news about this catastrophic landslide that occurred. These multiple landslides have occurred in a number of sub-counties, but the hardest hit is Bushika sub-county, where 10 homes, gardens and livestock, 10 homes, which have an average of about 30 houses, have been buried. The whole ridge came rolling down, and that rubble has buried those families. So far, efforts by search and rescue teams have only been able to retrieve 4 bodies. The rest, majority of the bodies are still trapped in the rubble. And incidentally, to access the scene of this particular landslide is very difficult because the heavy downpour is still pounding and the rubble, the earth is moving downwards. So the rescue teams, most of them are scared. But the Wananchi have actually, with resilience, they have persevered and they have been able to recover a few of the bodies, and most of the casualty cases have been taken to Bududa. Actually, Bududa Hospital is full to capacity with those that are injured. Mr. Speaker, my prayer before I make the prayer, there is a river there called Tutu. It has also burst its banks, and most of the civil servants who work in Health Center 3, Ubunji, could not go back home because the bridges had been washed away. And actually people are stranded. The prayers I would like to make to this house. We as leaders of this particular disaster-prone region, we are tired and worn out of every other year coming here to raise matters of urgent public importance pertaining to losses of people who are claimed by these natural calamities. The idea of having to resettle them permanently in Bulambuli is a brilliant idea, but is moving at a snail's pace. You can imagine 2 years, more than 2 years down the road, the ministry has only afforded to construct for 100 households, 107 households. Out of a minimum, in Bududa for instance, a minimum targeted for relocation and eventual settlement, 100,000 households, but there are even more. Now it will take us ages to logically conclude this relocation and eventual settlement exercise. So my prayer, which I raised last week when the minister, the line minister of state for disaster preparedness and refugees, the Honorable Chweru, brought here a supplementary budget request from, I think, targeting contingency fund. It is close to 50 billion. And I reminded him that one issue of pertinent concern should be saving the lives of those who are in Bududa, in high-risk places, evacuating them. There was no evacuation plan, no budgetary allocation whatsoever for those people that are in those high-risk hills, as the rains are pounding. And credit must be given to meteorological authority. This time around, they were accurate. They have predicted these rains, and they are to continue up to early next year, Mr. Speaker, sir. And these people are at risk. They ought to be relocated. I added on the other ones of Vundibujo, whose parish is sinking. I will give you information later. Second, so if the budget could be readjusted to have the people are more than willing to be relocated. Let the people be evacuated, be put in places which are relatively safe within, as they await the eventual settlement, which is also taking ages. Secondly, it is cheaper, Mr. Speaker, if they had adopted the unanimous idea which the stakeholders in Bududa had proposed, a compensatory approach. It's now more expensive to build a house, which will cost well over 50 million, and then you give each household 3.5 acres. That is, if aggregated together, that's huge sums of money. But if someone was compensated and left the place, it would be much cheaper, much faster, and would help matters. Or if we had gone by the earlier idea, which was shortchanged by the ministry, of urbanization strategy, similar to Ujija Ujamaa villages of Tanzania, that is much cheaper, affordable urbanization within. And a multi-sectoral team of technocrats from various ministries came and identified within Bududa 17 locations for this affordable urbanization strategy. But it was shortchanged because of the corruption which has forced His Excellency to work today. The prayer, that is the prayer, Mr. Speaker, that if we could have urbanization strategy implemented or a compensatory approach actually considered, it would be quicker. I thank you.
Thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to sincerely pass on our condolences to the bereaved families. And what I have to say is that on Monday this week, the Minister in charge of Works presented a paper on the situation of our roads coming from the impact of the heavy rains. It was wide, and Cabinet decided to pick out the points which need rescue. We can no longer reconstruct roads where rains are still pouring and the floods are still ongoing. So when you talk about rescue, this falls under the category which was identified by Cabinet, and actually the President directed the Ministry of Defense to come in and help. He even mentioned something to do with purchasing of boats, because floods have taken over and people are moving in water, moving water, and they are risking their lives. So I want to assure you, Honorable, and I'm going to cross-check with the ministers concerned to make sure that we rescue our people who are entrapped right now as a matter of rescue, really, to save further lives from perishing. And then the relocation must be done. I know that we've been building houses in phases. Phase 1 is done. Phase 2 has to be fast-tracked, given the fact that the rains have showed that more damage is being caused. So I'm going to get in touch with my colleagues to make sure that we come to the rescue of our people. But condolences, and may their soul rest in peace.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, the relocation programs can work. I recently saw on social media the picture of the Minister of Disaster Preparedness, Honorable Nonet, who had gone to visit the people where they had been resettled. And the communities gave him a pumpkin. I saw the picture. I called him. He said, the people who have been resettled are actually happy and they're living well. They have a livelihood, so they're okay. So why don't we do this and save people? Because we know, as day follows night, that wherever there is drought, there's going to be floods. Every year, there's drought following floods. Floods following drought. Like that. When I'm sure the honorable member from, you have just left, the honorable member from Toroma is about to start speaking very soon about drought. And then Manjia will start speaking very soon about floods and landslides. Can we do a more comprehensive thing? Because we know that they are going to happen anyway. So why don't we do something more permanent in terms of a solution?
Right Honorable Speaker, the program which is being implemented under OPM is a permanent solution. I can only say that probably...
No, the question is why should... Because those people should not be there now. Why should it be in phases? Why don't we say this is one program that we must execute and finish it? Because we'll not be having people buried there anymore.
We secured enough land. I can stand and say at least we cleared land. Land has been secured. Houses have been constructed. People have been resettled. And the next phase of construction of houses is what I'm talking about. Because thank you so much. The clarification I'm seeking, recently we faced the same problem in Kanungu, and we had about 4 families in a certain valley, and so when it rained, rain came with the stones and everything, like you know, and it killed one woman. And we wrote a report to the Prime Minister's office, and we've not received any answer. Honorable Madam Chief Whip, maybe I pray that when you are organizing that, you remember those families in Kanungu also, so that they are not left behind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Government Chief Whip, for giving way. And thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My clarification is about if you have 100 people who are in dire need, and then you respond and you answered 1 out of 100 in 2 years. Are you serious? Can you clarify that? Your seriousness about resettling, committing to 100,000, and in 2 years, you have resettled 100. Can you clarify your commitment? Thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker, moving people from their ancestral home is not a one activity you can do in an evening. A lot of persuasion, a lot of sensitization has been taking place to make people agree to move from their ancestral home to a different part of the country. And we are moving steadily because they are not coming to visit, they are coming to stay, and to stay forever. So we are moving on. And secondly, Uganda now has the Earth Observation System, and we were given an award recently. Honorable Chitutu represented us. We know what is going to happen in Kanungu, and I can pledge that the minister comes here and takes us through. So what we have to do is that we put matching funds to allow the minister in charge of disaster respond spontaneously. It's always the matching funds which delays us. Otherwise, we can now tell the disasters as they appear or they are planned to appear in the country. But the minister can come here and give us more information so that we appreciate what Uganda has achieved regarding Earth observation.
Thank you very much. Honorable Orod had a procedural matter, yes?
The matter I'm raising, Honorable Speaker, is that the landslides is a very, very bad tragedy. Are we really proceeding well by not rising up in this parliament and pray for these souls and observe a moment of silence? Yes, because this you can see those spirits are now buried underground there. So they need our prayers to see that God can do something. Thank you.
Okay. It's a valid point. It's a valid matter. So this country has lost people to landslides and also in different incidents. Maybe you can use this opportunity to rise and observe a moment of silence.
May their souls rest in eternal peace.
Honourable members, there is an issue to do with the election procedures, updates, and also another aspect of electoral matters that the Honourable Member for Arua had requested to speak on as an urgent matter, and also Busongora North on the same issue. Would you like to?
Right Honourable Speaker, thank you very much. Right Honourable Speaker, as I was in Arua, moving around my district, I happened to come across the EC. We all know that the EC is currently updating its voters
The Electoral
registered.
Commission.
Yeah, the Electoral Commission. Right Honorable Speaker, what the AC has done, the Electoral Commission has done in Ayivu County and Terego, as big as our sub-counties are, the EC has only given 1 computer per each sub-county, and of which the computers are not even working. And Electoral Commission has gone ahead, giving 10 forms per day. And you know what it means for voters, electors hate to be posted around. And now when we try to interact with them, they told us that they will add them more computers. But up to now, they have not added more computers to those sub-counties in Ayivu and also in Teregu constituency. 2, the forms that are brought in the location where the Electoral Commission is staged. Right, Honorable Speaker, we have members, we have people who are overwhelming coming, but only 10 forms, and those people are now doing nothing. They have become so lazy. Imagine sitting from morning up to evening, only working on 10 forms, and once it is done, they will have to wait till the following day. There are even instances where we got them hold the grasshoppers. I think they call them in the grasshoppers. So you can imagine, Right Honorable Speaker, that for us, as the time is going, and the Electoral Commission is saying that they will not adjust their time. If it passes 11th of this month, for them they will close the chapter of, I'll give.
No, please, you have the information. Tell the House.
My prayers will be that let the EC adjust on its time frame. Secondly, add computers and forms to areas where they're actually lacking. Because we are stranded, we don't know what to do, and more people are still coming to update their voters' registers. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, the members raising matters coming from Arua. You have no information about it. What information are you giving?
Yes, you're right.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the laws of this country allow every citizen aged 18 and above to participate in elections and electioneering. You can vote and you can also be voted. But Right Honorable Speaker, there is disenfranchisement of the rights of the Ugandans in Kasese, and particularly in Uganda, Chanya Town Council, where the youths who are 17 years now, and by the time we vote, they will be 18. When they go to register, Right Honorable Speaker, they are being turned and asked not to register. And yet, Right Honorable Speaker, previously, one who's actually around 17 or 16 years of age, if the update of the register, of the voters register, is done maybe 1.5 years before the voting date, they are usually allowed to register so that by the time we vote, Right Honorable Speaker, they will be eligible voters because they will have made 18 years. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I would like the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs to tell this House whether there are clear guidelines that the Electoral Commission officials are actually applying in this update exercise. Because if we don't do that, Right Honorable Speaker, it is going to limit, it is going to disenfranchise the rights of Ugandans who are actually 1 or 1.5 years to make 18 by the time we vote in 2021.
Thank you very much. 2 issues. The updates going on, the computers are not working. There are few, and the few that are there are not working. Then they give 10 forms per day. The people come, they're overwhelmed, there are no forms, there are no computers. Two, they are not considering people who are going to turn 18 next month, in January next year, in December next year, who would be eligible to vote. These are critical issues. Would you like to say something about it?
Right Honorable Speaker, these are very pertinent issues because where all of us are very, very interested. And I will make sure that I contact the Minister in charge of Constitutional Affairs regarding sending more forms to all our areas. It seems this cuts across probably, and more computers. But regarding for guidelines, which has been articulated by Honorable Nzo. Yes, the guidelines were issued, sir. They were circulated on updates, on the age, who is supposed to, on the new, registration. These guidelines were all over. So unless we give them out again, but they are very clear guidelines. If there are people who are misrepresenting the guidelines in Kasese, this is which needs to be cross-checked out. But the guidelines were issued, sir.
Thank you very much. This is not a matter for another statement in this House. Just go act on them, make sure the computers are there and they are working and that there are sufficient forms and that you, please, and that you make a review. Let the Electoral Commission see what is happening in the country with the update process. There should be supervision. Things can go wrong when we are seeing. Thank you. Can we now go on to other paper?
Item number 3, bills first reading.
Bills first reading. Please, please, please. Let me finish with this. Bills first reading. Let me finish with this, please. Which bill is this? I see two members reading. Are they reading the same day?
The Uganda Red Cross Society Bill 2019.
Are there two members reading it? I see Honorable Sampala this side, Honorable... He has delegated two members? Okay.
Sorry. Right Honorable Speaker.
Since this is a challenge, you now have to invest in so many people because you don't know who will show up.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I sit on the National Board of the Uganda Red Cross Society.
So just present the bill.
And I would like to beg to move that the bill entitled the Uganda Red Cross Society Bill 2019 be read for the first time.
Thank you very much, honorable members. These motions don't require secondment, but yesterday people insisted that they should be seconded without amending our rules. So is this motion seconded? By Kumi Municipality, by Manjia District, is it? Beduda District, Remiyaga, Gulu District, okay. Honorable members, this bill, as it came, we used the authority of the Public Finance Management Act because there was no financial certificate of financial statement issued. But in accordance with that law, we have authority on the expiration of 60 days, we can proceed without the certificate of financial implication. That's what we have done with this bill. And so it goes to the committee responsible to handle expeditiously and report back to the House. Thank you. Next item.
Item number 4, statement by Minister on the progress of East African Community Integration.
Honorable Minister. There was a procedural matter. Honorable Member for Bukonzo West, you had a procedural point? Sorry, I kind of forgot. Let's handle.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for your grace. Mine was intertwined with the Electoral Commission. Mr. Speaker, sir, you recognize that in 2016, someone who was 14 years, by this time, by 2021, will be qualified or will be meeting the requirements to vote. But we are also aware that according to the academic calendar, the students are still in school. Senior 4 through senior 6. Yep. And even including colleges and universities. Now, the Electoral Commission has come up with a deadline that they don't want to, extend or scale up. Mr. Speaker, sir, I was wondering whether it would not be procedural right to ask the Chief Whip that in her communication to the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs to also bring on board the students who will literally be defranchised by the fact that the deadline will meet them in the schools, colleges, and universities. Mr. Speaker, that is my submission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please take care of that, Honorable Minister, in the Government Chief Whip, in your communication. The deadline, please. Thank you. Next. Honorable Minister, please, your statement.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, on the sitting of 14th November 2019, I made a statement on the celebration of the 20 years of the East African Community integration. And as a result, the Speaker directed our ministry to provide a report on the progress of East African integration status for the last 20 years. And this statement is in response to that directive, and it will provide an update on the current status, on the performance of the 4 pillars of integration. Mr. Speaker, the East African Community Affairs as a ministry is mandated to coordinate the integration agenda in accordance with the objectives of the treaty for the establishment of the East African Community. And Mr. Speaker, under Article 5 of the treaty, the East African Community partner states undertake to establish among themselves the customs union, the common market, subsequently the monetary union, and ultimately the political federation. The protocol establishing the East African Customs Union was signed in 2004, and it is being implemented as from 2005. And also the protocol for the common markets was signed by the East African heads of state in November 2009 and entered into force by July 2010. In line with Article 76 of the treaty, the protocol provides the following to be aggressively implemented: the free movement of goods, free movement of persons and labor, free movement of services, the free movement of capital, and the right of establishment and residence. And the partner states signed on this protocol for the establishment of the monetary union in 2013, and it is expected to be established by 2024. This is undertaking the fast tracking. And Mr. Speaker, the final protocol is the political federation, which is now a priority of the East African community, and the launch of the constitutional drafting process is already underway. Our president has already put up a team. Mr. Speaker, you will allow me spell out what each protocol has so far achieved. Under the Customs Union, the implementation of the Customs Union has made significant impact on trade in goods by lowering the cost of doing business. For example, the adoption of the Common External Tariff, which is currently under review with the following tariff bands, with 0%, 20%, 25%, and a rate above 25%. Transit times have greatly improved along the northern corridor. It takes 2 to 5 days for a container of goods to move from Mombasa to Busia or Malaba, and this used to be about 21 days. Mr. Speaker, we also have now the simplified trade regime for smaller traders who are engaged in cross-border trade with goods less than $2,000. They only need a certificate of origin from either Uganda Revenue Authority or Ministry of Trade and Industry and Cooperatives, and this will definitely allow them to be exempted from some taxes that they would have attracted if they imported those goods outside the region. Mr. Speaker, we have also, under the Customs Union, established the One Area Network for the harmonization of the customs systems. This also goes together, combining even the One Area Network for the mobile telephones, which is because our systems of customs as SCUDA uses the telecommunication systems. So this is a two-way. It works under the Customs Union, but also applies under the common market, because the Customs Union facilitates the implementation of the common market. It has reduced on the costs significantly on the doing business, and particularly in this fiscal year, the 2018-2019 reports, ESG destination, especially for exports in Uganda, has registered the total of $1,469,000 in millions as exports, as compared to $911 million which we have imported into this country. So there was a trade surplus of $557 million as per the trade, based on this simplified trade. As leaders, we will productively increase our productivity once we engage in this intra-trade, which is highly recognized now around our region, especially the EAC, the SADC, the COMESA, where our contribution as EAC is now, the inter-trade is now 19.35, which is now being considered more or less the highest into the regions who are doing intra-trade. The Customs Union has also led to the improvement of the intra-trade, especially where we are having a 1.3 billion from 2003, picking up to 5.8 billion in 2015, before reducing to 5.2 billion in 2017. The cumulative total number of the harmonized standards has been 1,526 for the period of 2000 up to 2018. And this one is being implemented by the Ministry of Trade. Mr. Speaker, I have a table that can give us the performance of our trade within the indicators within the region on page 5. On the elimination of tariffs, which has also been a barrier, especially on the implementation of the Customs Union and the common markets, we have established the one-stop border posts, which has been constructed to facilitate the 24 hours operations around the gazetted border points. We have, under the Monetary Union, established the single customs territory. This has been introduced where customs operation systems are linked to clear cargo. and also reduce the time of movement from Mombasa to Kampala from 15 to 4 days as of today. Mr. Speaker, the region is also now implementing the single customs territory where tax collection for Uganda Revenue Authority for collection of payments of taxes and security for direct delivery is now at owner's premises. An indicator that you can pay taxes today from Kampala and your container is still in Mombasa and it will be directly delivered to your resident. You can also now report on any tariff barrier by simply dialing a number which is *201# on your phone, the members, and once you establish that there's a non-tariff barrier anywhere, then this link will directly channel you to the Ministry of Trade, Ministry of ESC, and Ministry of Finance under the agency of Uganda Revenue Authority. We have also introduced the simple certificate of origin to facilitate the faster clearance and exemption of goods within the region which are under the threshold of $2,000. And this has to help especially people living around the border who may not be doing big business so that they can also engage to benefit from goods produced within the region. And the EAC, with the collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, and Ministry of Trade, they have stationed officers to facilitate, especially in this, where the Ministry of Health works on issues of drug, Ministry of Trade helps on UNBS on standards, and also Ministry of Agriculture supporting on quarantines. All these officers have been positioned at all the border points of Uganda. The community has right now embarked on the elimination of the tariffs, non-tariff barriers. We have an act of 2017, and Mr. Speaker, we have continued to establish some ways of where the tariffs, the non-tariff barriers keep emerging, and there's a mechanism that the ministry has now started to engage. Like we have the mutual recognition agreements, which are now being implemented to support professionals, especially people at a professional level. They should now use their associations to do business across. And also the implementation of the time bound of the movement of goods, even the services and the people is also being monitored. And this program, I know, is going to reduce on the tariff barriers. The laws, regulations, directives, and decisions, or even the recommendations of the Council, they are also being fast-tracked. And these are some of areas where we have got under the common market. Mr. Speaker, sorry, under the Customs Union. Mr. Speaker, under the common market, this has also made profound impact on the lives of the citizens of the East African community, especially on the movement of goods and services, labor, capital, and the rights of establishment. The border crossing has been identified for conversion of a one-stop border point. We mentioned on it. We are now almost completing a Legu into fixing it with the systems. Otherwise, the construction has been done. This move facilitates the operations of a One-Stop Border Post Act of 2013. The EAC One-Stop Border Post Regulation of 2016 and the East African One-Stop Border Post Operation Manual. These are all under view to ensuring effective operations of these establishments and the investments which are already putting up housings, the buildings, the roads, and the parking yards. And when you go to the border points, most of those roads that you see and the good infrastructure is now emerging due to the one-stop border points. The new parking yards, the cargo verification sheds, the bays, the scanners. You see that now we have already established and automatic verification systems where we have scanners. There is no longer aspects of opening containers and pouring out material or goods. We use scanners. If you go to Busia, you go to Malaba, you go to Mirama Hills, you go to Lutukura, and even at the border, our border here with Tanzania. We have now established the scanners, Mr. Speaker. We have passenger sheds, and we have now warehousing canopies. We have the ICT networks and hardware, and all these are within the institutions. Mr. Speaker, I just want to say that under the common markets, we are now moving on the right direction, and we can only say that as the time goes on, the whole system will benefit all Ugandans. I've given a table which is indicating also how our people from within the region have been securing jobs across. Mr. Speaker, on page 7, you will find that the table shows the number of Ugandans who are employed outside the region, and also indicating the number of other citizens outside the region who are employed here in Uganda. On table 5, the table is clear. Maybe I will not go into details on that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Minister, your statement is over 15 pages. I'd like you to summarize because it's uploaded on the iPad.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. The biggest part is tables. I'm almost left with the 2 pages, Mr. Speaker, if you allow me. Mr. Speaker, the third protocol is the customs, the East African Monetary Union. Colleagues, the protocol for the establishment of the Monetary Union it came into force in 2013, and we expect that by 2024 could have already introduced the common currency to replace the national currencies of EAC states. Under the protocol, partner states are required to achieve and maintain the 4 physical and monetary targets for a period of 3 years prior to full monetary union, and maintained, therefore, once the union has been affected. The primary convergence criteria are ceiling of the headline inflation of 8%, the physical deficit, including grants, of 3% of GDP, and the gross public debt of 50% of GDP in net present value terms, and the floor on the reserve coverage of 4.5 months of imports of goods and services. Mr. Speaker, this is the percentage ratio that is anticipated in the Monetary Union, and the protocol will raise the concern on building resilience and appropriately managing economic shocks in the context of the Monetary Union. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, we have a table which will give us on how the management and the implementation perspectives on the Monetary Union is on page 12. And you will allow me to finalize with one aspect of the political federation, because these other ones are just explaining what the other part of the Monetary Union is. The political federation, Mr. Speaker, is now at the level of the constitutional drafting process. Like we said, the 6 partner states have appointed the constitutional drafting experts. The inauguration of the constitutional experts have been done. We did it on the 19th of November in Entebbe. Our president was nominated by the colleague presidents of EAC to be the patron for the federation, and the process has started. We also anticipate by 2024, this process must have come into force. Mr. Speaker, we also have some other benefits that have come with the integration, that right now we have the East African Regional Center of Excellence, where Uganda Cancer Institute is a center of excellence for oncology and cancer. This would reduce patients who seek treatment outside the region, thus reducing the transfer of resources in the partner states. You have the Uganda Virus Research Institute as the EC Center of Excellence for Virology, and these are all research on Ebola, on Marburg, cholera, HIV, tuberculosis, which have been given their status especially. And other countries like Kenya has a center of excellence for issues concerning with the heart, and then the main research center, the establishment of the institute is in Bujumbura. Mr. Speaker, the three partner states of Uganda, Kenya, and Rwanda, we are now using the single tourist visa policy, and other partner states have making an application on the geometry. We expect that the flexibility of the process of implementing this project will usher in the faster tracking of countries like Burundi, countries like Tanzania and South Sudan, who are yet to come on board as per the policy of moving as a team. We have also, Mr. Speaker, the summit has picked out on the introduction of Kiswahili as the language that should be spoken by all East Africans. And as countries, Uganda has already put up the Kiswahili Council, and this will be implementing the introduction of Kiswahili from the low level of education up to the higher level, where we should make our children and even ourselves adapt to the language and speak it well. Mr. Speaker, we have the higher education area of ESC, where it has been established that the centers of learning and syllabus should have the similar syllabus, and also the quality assurance mechanism with the similar reforms for the provision of quality and competitive education in the community. This is done by the Inter-University Council of East Africa, which is hosted here in Uganda. The Speaker, the East African community is also implementing the East African Road Infrastructure Network. Mr. Speaker, we have the Tunga Momirama Hills Katitumba Road. This has been contracted to link the Mirama Hills, the connectivity to the Rwandan market. We have also the market of a bridge stretching from Uganda, Kenya to Malaba border post to complete. This is a 1 kilometer dual carriage bridge that is in Malaba between Kenya, and this links the Mombasa port. And the dual carriage will replace the current bridge built in 1961. And if somebody happens to pass in Malaba, you'll see that this is a new infrastructure which has been built by Trademark East Africa. Mr. Speaker, also the 4-lane toll of Entebbe Kampala Express Highway linking the international airport. These are all a link of the East African road transport infrastructure. There are many that I will not be able to mention, but also we have that as a protocol which is under the cooperation. Mr. Speaker, we normally celebrate into the interparliamentary games. This will be the 10th year, and Uganda will be hosting, and this is all coming because of the treaty. So, Speaker, as I conclude, we have also challenges that we face under the integration. Then the first challenge, Mr. Speaker, is the financing mechanism of the region. Right now, the system is that each partner state makes a contribution based on the budget that they have been allocated. There were proposals of alternative financing, and they have not been concluded. Mr. Speaker, the ministers of finance have been involved in the negotiations, and they have not concluded. And the biggest achievement that we got was that the first sectoral council had advised that we deduct a percentage of import levy on the imports within the region, partner state. And because of the varied development of the countries and the partner states, they have not been able to harmonize this. And we have been informed from the previous council we had that by April 2020, the financing mechanism would have been concluded, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've given a table indicating on how our status of contributions are, and this table runs up to page 19. And as I conclude, Mr. Speaker, we also say that there is also a problem of emerging NTBs, non-tariff barriers, which we sort as they come. Mr. Speaker, we also face a problem of human trafficking, which is so much established because of the porous borders. As we implement the common markets that removes the borders, Mr. Speaker, also we attract people who are trying to soothe our people, the boys and the girls, to seek for green pastures, and these people have gone without proper documentation, which has caused us problems. Mr. Speaker, there's also another problem of proliferation of the small arms and the terrorism, which we are also facing as a region due to opening of the borders. And the final one, Mr. Speaker, there's one element of mistrust still existing between the partner states. And this one, Mr. Speaker, like the issues that we have between Uganda and Rwanda, is being handled by the memorandum of understanding which was signed in Angola, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs right now, they are already engaging on fast tracking on the memorandum of understanding to see that it can be implemented. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you once again for giving me this opportunity to come back and make a few clarifications on this. And I know we, as Ugandans, we as East Africa, we have to support the implementation of the integration agenda, and also as per the reports emerging from the United Nations Economic Commission, it is indicating that East African community is the highly growing economic bloc across all blocks around the world. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Very clear statement. Is the chairperson of the East African Community Affairs Committee here? You are the chair? You are the vice chair? Have you handled anything like this?
Mr. Speaker, sir, we have had numerous meetings with the minister as a committee, and most of these issues have been raised and we know them as a committee.
Have you compiled the report for the House?
Not yet, Mr. Speaker, but I think we shall be compiling soon.
Hello?
We shall be compiling soon.
Compiling soon.
Yes.
Would you like to give a proper timeline, Mr. Vice Chairman?
Mr. Speaker, I may not now.
You know why I'm asking this is because ministerial statements like this, of this nature, they are very involving. And usually we need them processed for the House to have a proper debate and decision. Because we can debate this statement and leave it there, like we have always done. Ministerial statements are debated and then we go on to the next item. It might be more productive if it is a committee report that comes with all the issues analyzed and investigated and then the recommendations made for the decision of the House. It will be a more structured debate than the one we are going to have now on the ministerial policy statement, because we can only comment on the statement. We can't really debate it as such. But it's a ministerial statement that attracts a debate. We can have a short debate and see if this particular statement can also, like the last one, be sent to the committee to give us a more in-depth proposal for decision of the House. But we can still have a debate. You want to have a full debate today? Because the members who have stood now gives me an impression that we want to have a full debate on the minister's statement. A debate without decision is not a debate. We need to debate and take a decision substantially. I thought there would just be a few comments, but now I see the whole house rising. So I am tempted to refer the matter to the committee. Can I do that? Can we have a debate when we refer this matter to the committee, examines it in detail, then comes back with recommendations? Chair, would that be a proper way to handle this?
Most obliged, Speaker.
Thank you. Matter referred, this statement will refer to the committee, our Committee of East African Community Affairs. Let them process it. Have more interaction with even the members of the East African, our own members of parliament from the East African, what is it called? Of the East African Legislative Assembly would interact with them and then see how we can. Probably they could also have perspectives from Parliament in that thing. Then we can come and have a full debate. So can we do that? It's substantially referred to the Committee of East African Community Affairs to process it and come back with recommendations that can guide us on what decisions we should take at ours. Procedure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I raise on a point of procedure. Wouldn't it be procedurally okay that we give the committee a timeline within which they have to report so that we can have a full debate?
Chair, how much time do you need?
Mr. Speaker, I heard of you yesterday when you were saying soon, but I think we are time barred and where we are going. So I think maybe after recess we can now bring the report.
That would be when we resume for debate on the on the budget framework paper. I think January would be a good time. But for now, examine it, do the consultation, then you give us proper recommendations on what we do with an assessment of all these things.
Thank you very much.
Next item.
Item 6, motion for adoption of the report of the Select Committee to inquire into the humanitarian crisis arising out of the eviction and displacement of over 300 families in Chavisgazi village, Chigorovia sub-county, Hoima district.
Chair, we defer this matter to today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to skip page 1 up to 9, which talk about methodology. And I will go to the findings, observations, and recommendations. So we are on term of reference number 1 to study all claims of ownership on the disputed land. The committee was informed that the land in dispute is comprised in leasehold register volume 1039, folio 8, plot 5, block 6, situate at Chakahogoro, Buhaya, Hoima district. The land measures approximately 438 hectares or 1,082.2 acres and belongs to Edgar Agaba. While appearing before the committee, Mr. Edgar Agaba informed the committee that he acquired the same land from the Non-Performing Asset Recovery Trust in short NPAT on the 15th July 2005. By war of history, the land in dispute was leased to Neko Rukanyanga by the Uganda Land Commission in 1978 for 49 years. In 1987, Mr. Neko, the registered proprietor, mortgaged the same land to Uganda Commercial Bank under instrument number 232614. However, Mr. Neko Rukanyanga failed to pay the monies under the said mortgage, and any part in exercise of its mandate under the Any Part Act, Cap 95, took over the mortgage. Subsequently, in 2005, Any Part transferred
the mortgaged property and interest of NECO to Mr. Edgar Gaba in a consideration of 28.8 million Uganda shillings, and is now the current proprietor. The committee further received evidence from Hoima Land Office corroborating the same. Occupants on the land. According to the evidence gathered from the evictees, the committee found out that the majority of these people had been in occupation of this land since the 1940s and 50s. While appearing before the committee, Mr. Edgar Gaba also confirmed that at the time of acquisition of this land, over 600 people had been living and staying on the same. He, however, allowed them to stay as tenants while paying ground rent of Sulu of 50,000 Uganda shillings per acre per year, whereas the same was agreed, whereas some agreed to pay, others refused on the account that they could not pay rent on their own land. Beginning of the conflict. The committee was informed that the genesis of the conflict and tension between Edgar Gaba and the occupants of the said land started in 2017 when the former decided to terminate their tenancy. This action by Agaba met stiff resistance from the occupants who had peacefully settled on the same land for many years as bona fide occupants. Following the disagreement, Mr. Edgar Gaba threatened to forcefully evict them. This therefore prompted the occupants led by the then chairman LC1, Mr. Simon Achille, to petition the Commission of Inquiry into the said matter. And in response to the petition, the Commission directed Mr. Gaba Edgar to cease and desist from carrying out any activities on the said land, including boundary opening, titling, disposal, or any act or mission, or otherwise, for a period of 6 months until the Commission of Inquiry had completed its inquiries. However, Mr. Edgar Gaba did not adhere to the directive of the Commission and went ahead to plan for their eviction. And now we go to TOR, a term of reference number 2, to investigate allegations relating to the identity and status of persons evicted or displaced. Kyabisagazi village in Hoima district, like other places in the country, hosts a wide range of tribes from across all parts of the country, and these include the Rugubara, Aru, Acholi, Kebu, Lendu, Bagisu, and Congolese. These tribes have stayed, and lived harmoniously with the indigenous Banyoro and the Bagungu for decades. However, in recent years, a section of the Banyoro have turned hostile towards the non-Banyoro, and I will mention some of these people in our political class, whom they term as Bafuruk, or migrants. The so-called Bafuruk have been discriminated against by a section of the indigenous Banyoro and accuse them of grabbing their land. As part of its background check to ascertain the true identity of the evicted persons, the committee obtained a copy of the 2016 National Voters Register of Kyabisagazi 2 from the Electoral Commission, as well as some of the copies of the graded taxi tickets, which date as far back as 1980s, 90s, and the early 2000s. From the evidence gathered, the committee established that the evicted people were true Ugandans. This was further confirmed by both the Minister of State for Defense and Veteran Affairs and the chairperson LC3 Budong Sub-County in the Bugenje Sub-County, Masini District. The third item or term was to examine the involvement and the conduct of security forces in the evictions and displacements. The committee was informed that the involvement of the security forces was prompted by intelligence information that the evictees were a militia or a rebel group. Hoima District Security Committee further informed the Select Committee that their involvement in this matter was to flush out the militia or rebel group which had allegedly established a parallel administrative structure called the Pere Republic at Kyabisagazi 2, Chigorovia Sub-County, Hoima District, which was headed by Mr. Achille Simon, who was the then area chairperson LC1. The committee was further informed that upon receiving intelligence reports, the Hoima District Security Committee held several security crisis meetings presided over by the Minister of State for Bureau Affairs and the RDC, Mr. Kisembo Arali, and resolved to carry out a cordon and search operation with the view of flashing out the militia or rebel group. This information corroborates the earlier statement made by the Minister of State for Internal Affairs, Honorable Mario Obigakania, on the floor of the House on the 26th February this year regarding the same matter. Accordingly, the cordon and search operation was conducted on February 13th this year. This operation, however, met stiff resistance from the occupants of the land in question, which left one police officer, PC Rutarema Vincent, dead and another injured. During the same exercise, several people were arrested and beaten, while others fled the area. Those who were arrested were charged with different criminal offenses, ranging from murder, being armed in public, and threatening violence. When tasked to reveal the source of information which the security agencies acted on, the RDC informed the committee that the information came from the concerned people in the community. On the contrary, when the Minister of State for Defense and Veteran Affairs, Honorable Charles Okero Engola, appeared before the committee, he reported that following the arrest during the cordon and search operation, security agencies conducted a screening exercise and also carried out further investigations to verify the information on the alleged existence of the militia or rebel group. The outcome of these investigations and screening exercise ruled out the existence and the possibility of the militia or rebel group in Chabisaga's village, as had earlier on been reported and acted upon by the Security Committee. On the 29th May this year, the committee conducted a fact-finding visit to Chabisaga's 2 village after receiving numerous complaints from Honorable Daniel Muhirwe that the eviction activities were sporadically continuing, evictees' properties being destroyed, including their houses and crops. Upon reaching Chabisagas, the committee got information on site regarding the following. A, there was merciless and massive destruction of property belonging to the evictees by earth-moving equipment belonging to Eddie Gagaba and Bwendere dairy farm belonging to Mr. Magara John. 2, the people who were carrying out the above illegal activities were being guarded by the UPDF personnel, and we shall review where they got that authority. The Uganda Police Force would occasionally patrol the area to buttress the security provided by the UPDF. It was also discovered that the UPDF soldiers were from Kachiri military barracks deployed by Colonel Ndahura. The remnants of the victims who had persevered to stone the land had been chased away by gun-wielding security personnel. And F, a combined force of UPDF, Uganda Police Force, youth and guards swept through the village at Chabisagas, beating people, burning their houses, and threatening them as they were acting on behalf of Edgar Gaba. Committee's observations. The committee observed the following. The so-called cordon and search operation was merely a conduit for the security agencies to hand over the disputed piece of land to Mr. Edgar Gaba, free from any encumbrance. Therefore, they carried out an illegal eviction under the guise of flashing out a militia or rebel group. 2, the security agencies acted on concocted information of the existence of the militia or rebel group. There was a high level of unprofessional conduct of some security personnel, namely Major General Samu Fudin, the Commander Field Artillery, Major Esau Mwerendis, the intelligence officer of the Artillery Division, Mr. Kisemba Rad, the district commissioner, the district resident commissioner, and the former DPC Hoima Etima Twaha, who commanded the unlawful and illegal eviction. 3, the Minister of State for Rural Affairs, Honorable Ernest Kiza, fully participated.
He commandeered or recommended?
Commanded. 3, the Minister of State for Rural Affairs, Honorable Ernest Kiza, fully participated in the preparatory meetings and also presided over some of them, which culminated into the unlawful evictions. 4, strong tribal sentiments expressed by Edgar Agaba and the Minister of State for Rural Affairs, Ernest Kiza, while appearing before the committee, were likely to exacerbate the tribal conflict in the region. The duo openly told the committee that the Banyoro were left with no option but to defend themselves against the Bafuruchi or Nane Banyoro. As a result of the above conduct and involvement of security personnel, the victims lost their foodstuff, household belongings, and livestock. Others, including children, pregnant mothers, and the elderly, lost their lives. Some younger women who attempted to collect some food from their gardens were allegedly ruthlessly raped by the soldiers who were guarding the land for and on behalf of Agaba Edgar. These victims were rendered homeless. The use of security forces in land evictions and wrangles remains a contentious issue characterized by violence, loss of property, and lives. Indeed, numerous instances of violence and excessive use of force by security agencies, hired gangs, and bouncers have been documented, not only in Chabsaga's village, but in other parts of the country where illegal evictions have been carried out. For instance, Rusanja in Wapiso, Mukono, Mubende, Mutiana, among others. Term of reference number 4, to identify the humanitarian crisis arising out of the evictions and displacement and establish the current state of affairs. At the locus in Ko, or when we visited the land in question, the committee established the following. 1, the committee physically witnessed appalling effects of the aftermath of the illegal and unlawful eviction, where over 600 people were rendered homeless, food insecure, and children malnourished, and some children lost their lives as a result of lack of food. The committee noted that all the houses, including gardens, livestock, churches, schools, boreholes, markets, were mercilessly destroyed during and after the eviction. The committee found the homeless women and the children with their male counterparts hiding in the neighboring areas. Others were hiding in the Budongo forest, Ujenje constituency in Masindi, while the rest sought refuge in the homes of their relatives, churches, tobacco barns, and under trees. 3, the committee interfaced with the victims and recorded about 135 children, 55 women with babies, 116 other women, and 174 men. Reports received by the committee revealed that 4 children had passed on due to the coldness and lack of food. The situation was likely to escalate since there was no water, health, sanitation facilities, etc. There was high likelihood of an outbreak of cholera and other related waterborne diseases. The committee also interacted with the leadership of Budongo sub-county, which confirmed that there was an influx of evictees in the area. There were fears of increasing cases of criminality arising out of the Nene people who were loitering in the villages without food or shelter. The committee further visited the Hoima Central Prison to ascertain the situation of the arrested victims of Chabsaga's eviction incident. The committee learned that only 45 suspects were in custody against the 75 suspects, which the district security committee reported. That meant that 35 people remained unaccounted for. And during the visit, the committee also established that out of 45 suspects in the custody, 4 of them were juveniles. The committee obtained reliable information that Hoima district does not have a remand home and therefore resolved to write to the Hoima Chief Magistrate His Worship Samuel Ntendo to immediately release them. However, to date, the juveniles are still languishing in prison. Committee observation. The committee observed that as the country continues to witness unabated, unlawful, and illegal evictions and displacement of persons by perceived rich individuals, cases of homelessness, hostility, hopelessness are also increasing. Displacement brings with it risks and vulnerabilities such as loss of land and work, homelessness, food insecurity, loss of access to services such as education, health, and the possible destruction of social networks upon which people depend, particularly during crisis. Displaced people are at a higher risk of being both impoverished and unable to enjoy their human rights. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, the situation in Chabisaga remains so dire that it requires immediate intervention by government to settle the victims on their land. Where government is reluctant to do so, as the chief custodian of people's lives and properties, the victims should promptly be compensated for all the losses and the damages suffered as a result of this unlawful exercise, but also supported by government officials. And item 5, or term of reference number 5, to examine government efforts and other mitigation measures to solve the crisis. During the consideration of the assignment, the committee invited the Minister of Relief, Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, Honorable Engineer Hilary Onek, who declined to appear before the committee. And on March 28th this year, Honorable Engineer Onek wrote to the committee indicating inter alia that investigations into circumstances surrounding evictions were the responsibility of security agencies, but not Parliament. The Minister further stated that the DOPM, Office of the Prime Minister, had responded early this year with the delivery of 250 bags of 100 kilograms of maize flour and 50 bags of 100 kilograms of beans for the affected population in Kigorovia. And we have the letter to that effect. When the committee interfaced with the Hoima District Security Committee early this year at Hoima, the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer informed the committee that she had heard about that delivery directly sent to the affected people in Kigorovia. However, the district chairman, Hoima District, informed the committee that no relief had ever been delivered to the victims. This was reiterated by the victims when the committee visited and interacted with them early this year. Committee observations. The committee observed regrettable disrespect of parliamentary powers by Honorable Engineer Hilary Onek. 2, the committee observed that the displaced persons had been left to seek refuge in the nearby bushes, tobacco bands, neighboring villages in Masindi district and other areas in Masindi such as Budong Forest in Budong sub-county. The committee was further concerned that with no proper gazetted place to accommodate the displaced persons, there is a high risk of occurrence of other health-related challenges. The committee further observed that even the substantive Minister of State responsible for Bunyoro affairs, Ernest Kiza, had neither offered intervention in the plight of the victim nor sought relief assistance in the form of food and non-food items, but rather he was behind the planning of this plight. Term of reference number 6 is to make appropriate recommendations to Parliament. We therefore recommend as follows. 1. Government through the Minister of Relief, Disaster Preparedness and Relief and Refugees should urgently provide humanitarian relief both in food and non-food items to the affected persons. The committee also recommends that the deputies who were occupying their land as bona fide occupants prior to the acquisition of the same by Edgar Gaba should be verified and returned to the land or adequately compensated. And number 3, the UPDF and the Uganda Police Force should restrict themselves to their roles and core functions provided by law and desist from taking sides when it comes to land matters. And 4, in order to secure a maximum degree of effective legal protection against the practice of forced or unlawful evictions for all persons under their jurisdictions, the government must take immediate measures aimed at conferring security of tenure to all persons with interest in land. That's why they even give land titles to Vivanja holders. Number 5, the affected persons should be screened and thereafter be helped to acquire national identification cards replacement, since their IDs and properties were destroyed during this illegal exercise. And number 6, Mr. Agaba's involvement in the forceful eviction of the displaced persons must be further investigated by the responsible government agencies and face the justice system. And number 7, the government should be held vicariously liable for the unlawful conduct of its officers, including the Minister of State for General Affairs. And number 8, the UPDF and Uganda Police Force officers who participated in this illegal action should be held responsible both in their personal and official capacities. As I wind up, the committee recommends that the minister responsible contacts the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution to issue a notice of prosecution or a document withdrawing charges against the 4 juveniles that are illegally being detained at Hoima government prison. And 10, government should strengthen institutions such as the district land boards, district land offices, area land committees, and local council courts mandated to handle land administration to effectively address land conflicts. And 11, the ministry responsible for land should closely supervise the operations of the district land boards and the district land officers to ensure efficiency and effectiveness in their operations. 12, the ministry responsible for lands should update Parliament on the status of eviction guidelines in compliance with the recent court decision of Justice Musa. And then 13, government should sensitize the communities on land matters. And lastly, the committee further recommends that government adopts or puts in place involuntary displacement safeguards to prevent involuntary displacement and settlement. This is a UN concept that you sit with those affected by the unlawful action, and then you decide on their way forward. So while where possible, government should also reduce involuntary settlements by exploring alternatives of conflict resolution, engaging in meaningful consultation with the affected persons, compensation of losses where necessary, as well as provision of assistance to the displaced persons, especially the poor and the vulnerable. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, the problem of eviction is enormous, and if not handled with utmost justice it deserves, will soon plunge this country into regrettable consequences. I beg to report, and I must thank you. Allow me at this juncture, therefore, to lay on table the raw materials we used that include but not limited to 1, the minutes and the Hansard of the proceedings of the committee, the lease agreement between Uganda Land Commission and the NECO Kanyanga, a copy of the special title and the transfer by any part to Edgar, and all attendant documents. I beg to lay.
Let the records capture that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable members, we can appreciate that this select committee actually went through the entire terms of reference with a fair amount of detail, and the report shows that they worked well. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable members, this is a report of a select committee, and this House should debate it. So as you debate, this is the question that I propose for your debate, is that the motion is that the report of the select committee to inquire into the humanitarian crisis arising out of the eviction and displacement of over 300 families in Chabisigazi village in Chigorobia sub-county, Homa district, be adopted. That is the motion I propose for a debate, and debate starts now with the Bujenje. How long do we take, other members? 3 minutes?
Procedure, Honorable Speaker.
Let's go do 3 minutes. 3. Bujenje?
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the committee for their report. Just as it's rightly indicated in the report, all the evictees are settled in the Bujenje constituency without relief, and the situation is very alarming. But I find it very difficult for this House to discuss the report, when all the officials mentioned that are even supposed to guide us or help the evictees are not here. Honorable Ira Ronek has been mentioned in the report, is not here. Honorable Ernest Kiza is not here. Honorable Obiga Kanya is not here. Honorable Okelo Ngola is not here. And they are all ministers. The person who raised the question is not here. Are we really proceeding procedurally well without those people?
I thought you were going to debate.
No, I raised on the point of procedure.
Oh, procedural matter. But remember, what do you think? I think it might make sense that the persons who we are going to make reference to in our debate should be in attendance to be able to make some responses. Is that okay? So in that case, we will defer this matter I think now we defer it to next week, because tomorrow is quite loaded. We have a few things to do tomorrow. So it's deferred to Tuesday next week. Let's handle it on Tuesday next week. Thank you very much. Next item.
Item number 7, responses by ministers on issues raised by members.
I don't see tourism here. I don't see works here. I don't see the Attorney General here. I don't see foreign affairs here. I don't see finance here. I don't see agriculture here. I don't see security here. Next item.
Item number 8, bill second reading, the administration of judiciary bill.
Chair, come brief us where we are on this matter.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. This is a report. We are on the second reading, and it is on the on the administration of the Judiciary Bill 2018. The committee report was read, and the debate is supposed to ensue.
Honourable members, I don't know what the problem is with this bill. It's a bill that we should deal with. It's a bill that we should finish, because we have a whole arm of government waiting for the conclusion of this bill. I don't see the minister. I don't see the Attorney General. And you see, the sad thing is, the judiciary thinks it's Parliament delaying them, which is not right. We have been ready to handle this bill to its logical conclusion. Each time this bill comes up, we don't have anybody to steer this bill. But if it was any other bill, I would have asked this bill to be withdrawn. But this bill is so critical that I would not even want to imagine thinking that way. So I think Honorable Amoy, since you are leading the team of the front bench, can we bring this matter back tomorrow, and there should be Honorable Minister of Justice and the Attorney General handling these matters tomorrow, please.
Right Honorable, I want to apologize because the Public Finance Management Act dictates that government should by 31st have concluded part of the budget process. And there is right now an interministerial meeting taking place in State House where most of the ministers are attending a budget framework paper meeting. Myself, I was supposed to be in the meeting, so I will relay all the directives from your chair so that in the next Tuesday, if that is the tomorrow, the Minister of Justice or Attorney General is here in person. But we are committed to this bill.
Okay.
Thank you.
Defer to tomorrow. Tomorrow we will proceed with or without any of them. Thank you. Next.
Item number 9, Bill second reading, the National Graduate Scheme Bill 2018.
Honorable Majegere. Is the committee ready with this? Where did we go? We have not received the report yet, no? No, we haven't received the report. Chair of Gender, is Chair of Gender here? Or any member of the committee? Next item.
Item number 10, motion for reconsideration of the Sugar Bill 2019, returned to the House by His Excellency the President in accordance with Article 91(3)(b) of the Constitution and Rule 142 of the Rules of Procedure.
Minister of Trade and Industry and Cooperatives.
Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, we have not yet completed the consultations, and we pray for more time so that we can actually be able to present the reconsideration. We pray for 4 weeks.
Honorable Minister, this bill went through the entire process of the House. A decision was taken. It was sent to the President. The President disagreed with some provisions and sent it back. There are rules that govern bills returned by the President, and we have violated every single one of them. In fact, with impunity. Because ordinarily under the rules, we should have finished with this bill by February of this year. You can see where we are. We should have finished by February of this year, but we are here consulting. If you are not entirely ready and you are not in a position to process the disagreements that are still existing in the bill, you might want to consult the President to withdraw the entire thing and come back with what is more acceptable. Because we can't go on like this. There's a bill that is in Parliament. It has been passed by Parliament, but is still in Parliament, there on the order paper every day, and we can't proceed with it. So you might have to take a decision on how we proceed, so that we can get it off our list and then it goes to somebody else's list, your list or another person's list or cabinet list, or wherever you want to put it. But it should not be on our order paper anymore. So I think you go and consult on the possibilities and see how to relieve us as Parliament from the burden of carrying something that cannot move. Thank you. Next. Procedure.
Right Honorable Speaker, I sympathize with the ministers with regard to other bills, but the sugar bill, I think, has over-delayed, and we have done a lot of consultation. People have moved around various committees which have been reported to this Parliament, and we have had a lot of controversial issues discussed around this particular bill. So I think it's important that the government should attach some kind of priority to have this bill passed. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I feel that since our committees are ready, the legal and parliamentary is ready, and I believe that the trade committee is also ready, we can proceed. It means the government is not interested, but when we get a crisis, people run to us, like recently did when they could not sell their sugar. They ran back to us, and Parliament had to sort out the problem. So I would like to propose, Right Honorable Speaker, as a matter of guidance, that if you could allow us to proceed with the sugar bill, the rest we can probably wait. But with the sugar bill, we should proceed and pass it, because we have already discussed it. There's nothing new that the government is likely to brief us on.
Was the motion on this? I recall the motion for reconsideration was moved by the minister. Did we propose the question for debate? There was even debate? No. There was no debate. I was here, Honorable Member for Kumi Municipality. I was here. We did not debate it. But I think I went to the extent of proposing a question. Okay, you know, the thing has delayed so much, we don't even know where we are with this matter. Okay? Because each time the matter comes, the minister is not ready. I think Honorable Amelia Chambade was here. We are not ready. Give us 1 month. 1 month becomes 8 months. We are here in the same issue. So please, at least come and update us where we are properly, so that we know what was it. What was the last thing Parliament did with this bill? Have we received a motion from the minister for reconsideration? I don't even recall anymore. So we need to know exactly where Parliament is on this matter. It will give us a good guidance. Have we received the report from the committee? I don't recall, because the committee examined this and prepared a report on and was ready to report. So let's have this clarification made next week on Tuesday, please, on the record.
Obliged, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Next item.
Item number 11, motion for reconsideration of the Genetic Engineering Regulatory Bill 2018, returned to the House by His Excellency the President in accordance with Article 91.
Okay, can we do this on Tuesday as well? Please pass the information to the minister concerned. That will also handle this on Tuesday. Thank you. Next.
Motion for resolution of Parliament to institute an inquiry into the status of Uganda Association of External Recruitment Agencies Monitoring Fund.
Honorable Mpaka.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to move a motion for a resolution of Parliament to institute an inquiry into the status of the Uganda Association of External Recruitment Agencies Monetary Fund.
Procedure, Chair. Procedure, Mr. Speaker.
Procedure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My understanding is that this motion falls in the docket of the Ministry in charge of gender. I'm looking in front, I don't seem to see the minister from that ministry. I'm imagining how we are going to proceed with a motion where the ministers are not here. Are we proceeding well, Mr. Speaker?
You see, this is the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda. We should be able to proceed with business, especially where issues being raised affect very ordinary people. If there is a delay from the other side, should it cause a halt in the proceedings of the House? That's a balance we might need to debate one day. But for today, I'm going to ask the Honorable Mpaka if he's comfortable raising his issues in the absence of the minister who should be responding directly to the issues he's raising. We can as well do it tomorrow if you are comfortable.
Thank you, Right Honorable, but I am in agreement that we proceed.
And we'll respond to it? It might make sense if, because your justification, this motion should be listened to by the sector people responsible, the responsible sector people, so that they can capture it, please, so that they can capture it and see. But if you are comfortable raising in the absence, it will stay hanging, I don't mind. But it might make sense to raise it when they are there.
Much obliged, Right Honorable Speaker.
We'll handle this tomorrow. Please ask the Honorable Minister of Gender or any one of them to be around when this motion is being presented. That's tomorrow. Yes, procedure.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, since from our view, all business that is following today will require response from ministers in charge, and in light of the above, I cannot see, I hardly either see the appetite for some members to continue with debate, nor do I see the appetite of having more ministers being present here in the shortest time possible. I don't know whether it's due to the exhaustion from the walk, or some are still walking. My prayer, the procedure point I would like to move that is that, Mr. Speaker, I would like to seek your indulgence as to whether we should continue to debate, or I know it's within your wisdom to adjourn this House, so that, or maybe we can go for a small break so that these ministers are called upon to appear, since we still have time. Otherwise, we may not be able to proceed.
Honorable Member, you should have moved a substantive motion that the House be adjourned. So can you amend the motion and we see a... There was no motion. How can you second something that...
In view of the above, that Right Honorable Speaker, that we don't have, that the House lacks the presence of the members, mainly the ministers that are in charge to respond to the various questions that are on the order paper, I would request to move a motion that the House be adjourned. Right Honorable Speaker.
Is the motion seconded? Seconded by Busongora North. I put by Koboko, by Mamaracha, by Igara. I put the question, that motion for adjournment. Will those in favor say to the contrary? No. The ayes have it. House adjourned to tomorrow 2 o'clock.